Hi guys, welcome back to Maxie's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making sticky toffee pudding. Now this is a classic British dessert that is loved by many and I'm excited to share the recipe with you. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. So we're going to start off with the pudding. Now here's a list of ingredients that you will need to make your pudding. And the first thing we're going to do is to take the pit out of the dates. Now the dates that I used already had their pits taken out of them. So I just chopped them into little pieces, added my water, and I'm going to cook this over medium to low heat for 8 to 10 minutes. Now this will allow the date to soften, and that's what we want. The next thing you're going to do is to mix your sugar and softened butter. Now you want to make sure that your butter is softened, so you want to take it out of the fridge a few minutes or maybe an hour before you actually make your pudding. And I used salted butter, and that's why I didn't add any salt to this recipe. But if you use unsalted butter, please add a teaspoon of salt to the dry ingredients. Now this is a trick that I use now for every sticky ingredient that I use in any recipe. Before I actually measure out my ingredients, my sticky ingredients, I brush like the spoon or whatever I'm using to fetch it with a little bit of oil to prevent the sticky ingredients from actually sticking to the spoon. And that is what I did for the treacle and golden syrup, and you can tell that it worked very well. It works for honey and everything sticky, like I said. Now we're going to add in our eggs. We're using 2 eggs in this recipe, but please make sure you add them in one at a time and mix very well until the mixture becomes homogeneous and looks like this. Now I'm adding my vanilla essence and then I'm going to mix it after. I used a hand mixer for all of this because I was very lazy, but to be honest, from the very start to the very end of making this pudding, you can actually just use a normal hand whisk and everything would work just fine. Now for the flour, I used self-raising flour for this recipe, but if you don't have self-raising flour, please just use soft flour or plain flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now I didn't use baking powder in this recipe, and that's because I used self-raising flour. So please don't forget to add the baking powder if you're using plain flour or soft flour. And then you're just going to mix that in. Now this is what our chopped dates look like after we put them in water and boiled them for about 8 minutes. And now we're going to add this mixture to our butter in bits. So I'm not going to add everything at a go. I'm just going to do it 1 scoop at a time. So 1 scoop, then I'm going to mix, and then I'm going to do that until we've used all of the dates. Now this is what you want your butter to look like once you've added in all the dates and water mixture. Now we're just going to prep our cake tin or our baking tin or our dish, so the dish that you're going to bake your pudding in. I used a pie dish because that's what I had, and to be honest, I felt like it was the best thing for me to use. So feel free to use whatever. You can even use aluminium foil, like an aluminium foil tray. So I just greased the pan. Grease whatever you are using with butter or oil on the base and the sides as well, and just pour your pudding batter into whatever you're using. Now, I forgot to mention this at the start, but I still put in the description. Make sure you preheat your oven and just bake for 40 to 45 minutes. Now to the toffee sauce. This is the ingredient list for the toffee sauce that we would pour over the pudding. We're going to add the butter to sugar in a pot. Now, I used salted butter for this because I wanted a bit of saltiness in my toffee sauce. I wanted that salty taste, just a bit. So if you're using unsalted butter, feel free to add in a teeny tiny bit of salt. Please be careful not to overdo it. So once you've added these two ingredients into the pot, make sure that they start to melt before you actually start mixing everything together. So that's what I did. And once you start mixing, you want to leave it for some time after everything comes together. And then you want to add the cream and mix it in slowly. So that's what I'm doing right now. And make sure you do this on low heat because after everything melts, everything happens very, very quickly. So please, only on low heat. You want to do this only on low heat. So after you've mixed in the cream, if you didn't use salted butter, that's when you would add your salt, mix that in, and then just pour it into a jug or anything that can actually contain your sauce. Now, once you've made like holes in the pudding with a fork, you want to pour the toffee sauce over the pudding. Now, this is like the most important step for me when it comes to making sticky toffee pudding. This is what makes sticky toffee pudding. So please don't skip it. So I served my sister first and she loves it with ice cream. This ice cream was so good, guys. So it's like a honeycomb flavored ice cream, so it has this chewy effect to it. It was just too good. I tasted it as well. So serve it with your favorite kind of ice cream and drizzle over some toffee sauce as well. Add as much as you like and indulge, guys. This is by far one of the favorite things I've ever made on Maxie's Kitchen when it comes to desserts. I hope you guys try it and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!